What is up? It feels phenomenal to be back doing a scout team mock draft. It has been a minute, back from the dead, as they say. Those who they greatly overestimated my demise. So let me get this shared, and then we can go ahead and get started, because it is that time of the night in the Dundarski household that you may hear me yell across a few rooms for my kids to put their pajamas on or brush their teeth. They are at an age where they should be able to do this on their own, but they don't, because they're kids, and they're 6, about to be 7, and 8.5. So who the hell knows what goes on inside their brains, but for whatever reason, when dad talks in regular decibel levels, it just jangles around and then pops back out. It does not get retained, right? I have to be screaming and yelling for it to be retained. As a matter of fact, I just saw my daughter run by not in her pajamas, so there's a good chance we could hear some elevated dad voices here, but we hope not. If this is your first time, basically what I like to do, I'm not giving away scouting. I don't have a ton of scouting anyway. I joined, two draft rounds. So I think I have like 2 scouting rounds done. So I don't have a ton. So I can't give away a ton, but I don't. What I do is I basically use the person's projected round. I don't use their talent. I use their projected round. They need to be projected second round, early second round, or have like an insane combine stat. I'm not going to lie. I did not go crazy in depth on this one. Just based on the timing. I've not been here long enough. I got interim grades due. I've been doing other things, so I didn't have a ton of time to put into this. I did put at least an hour and a half into it, so if you don't like it, go fuck yourself. Sorry for the language. Apologize. We're going to kick it right off and go with the Cardinals. I'm not going to go too in-depth here. I know that Rodgers has abandoned ship. He is no longer the owner of the Cards. I don't know if they're officially CPU in the league or not, but I don't think, even if they are CPU, that they would take a quarterback with Kyler still there. They very well may. I don't know. I don't think they would, though. I think they're going to go with their right end, Jaden Southward, out of Mississippi State. He's a weird one. He's kind of like a Solomon Thomas. He's not quite an edge, not quite an IDL guy. So it's going to be a weird one if you were drafting him as a user, but being as he's the CPU, when you play him, he'll just get like 6 sacks against you, and that'll be that. But that's where I think they're going to go. He's 22 years old, 270, 6'3". So again, he's not quite big enough to play like D-tackle or be a 3-4 true 3-4 D end. You're probably looking at a 4-3 D end, and he's not super fast. He's 4.7, 540, 4.67, 20-yard shuttle. So not the greatest athletic skills, but he's ranked number 2 overall, and I don't think that the Cardinals are going to go quarterback. I do think the computer Lions will go quarterback, and they will get Hayden Porter, the kid out of Louisville, the field general, 21 years old, 6'2", 233, 4'9", 240, so anything under 5 is typically fine for those strong arm and field general guys. If you're improviser or scrambler, obviously that's terrible. 19 bench reps and the A-plus throw power kind of usually go hand in hand, and you can tell that he's going to have a decent throw power. I would guess it's going to be in that 94, 95 range. Could be higher than that, but I would guess that's kind of the floor that you're looking at there. If he had like 22, 23 bench reps, you might even be looking at a 96, 97 throw power, but I would bet he's that 94, 95 range. He's going to be fine. 21 years old. Got to love drafting a 21-year-old. I know I sure do, which brings us to our first user, and that is the Washington football team. Now, if you look at their roster, look, they've got some holes. They just drafted Miles Timmons last year. Looks like probably early. Yes, he was indeed end of the first round. So they've got a bookend left tackle. There really isn't a bookend left tackle at the top of this draft for them to go with. They're okay on the interior. You'll be just fine. Brandon Scherf's a 90. He's that power blocking guy. Morgan Moses is getting old. You got Shadik Charles behind him. This is the big question mark. Dwayne Haskins Jr. If Porter is gone, which he probably will be, you got to think that they are fine sticking with Haskins for another year. I think he's got one more year left on his deal. So he'll be going into that 5th-year option, and we'll talk about Daniel Jones later when we talk about the Giants. That was taking too long to load. Who the hell wants to wait for that? Where I think they're going to go, I think they're going to get Scary Terry, a running mate. Look, Steven Sims is fine. He's 25. He's already 79 overall. He's 92 speed, 93 acceleration. Guys, a stud, right? He's fine as a wide receiver, too. Everything you want in a wide receiver, too. Even in the slot, Kelvin Harmon, 6'2", 77 overall. A little bit slower, but he's a bigger guy, so that's fine. Where I think they're going to go is they're going to go after the kid, Andrew Hatchett, the wide receiver out of Texas A&M. Anytime somebody runs under 4.3, it's going to raise some eyebrows. He's only 21. He ran under 4.3. His 20-yard shuttle was under 4.2, which is impressive. So you got to think he's not going to last long, and I think the Skins will pair him up with Scary Terry and really put the pressure on Dwayne Haskins to go ahead and have to, prove, are you worth this fifth-year extension or not? I would say he's probably not, but it is Madden, and the QB contracts get a little crazy, so I wouldn't want to pay him $25-30 million. Chase Young already an 87. Deron Payne an 89. Matthew Ioannidis, who I believe is on the trade block, 88. Jonathan Allen, 87. Could he get Chase Young a running mate? I'm assuming he has Sweat out at linebacker. I don't know. I'd put him in at end if it looks like they're running a 4-3. I'm not certain what they're running. Could be running a 3-4. I don't know. But you got to think you want to pair Sweat and Young up to get after the quarterback. They're fine there and good. Look, they're old, but they're good at corner. So I think they could pass up on those top two corners. The top two corners in the draft are we have John Armstrong, Lance Armstrong's nephew, and then Javier Gaddis, the Mormon out of BYU. I think he passes up on both of them, goes for the wide receiver. It's more of a position of need. Get Scary Terry a running mate, and that will leave myself, the Jaguars. I really want the quarterback to fall. I don't think there's a way he ends up at 4. I don't think there's any chance Porter ends up at 4. If he ends up at 4, he's the pick. He's 21 years old, A-plus throw power. That's all I need to see. I don't care if everything else is C's and D's and F's, right? I'm taking him. 21 years old. Did I just give away a trait I'm not supposed to? I did. Does it matter? No, because he's not going outside of the top 5, so who the hell cares? But Javier Gaddis is who I will take over John Armstrong if he's there. If Gaddis is gone, it's probably Armstrong or Hatchett to me. Look, Gaddis is 21, ran a 4.3, 4.40, 4 flat shuttle. So he is where you want to be on a lot of the boxes, right? He's tall, he's fast, he's quick. If it's not Gaddis, it's probably going to be, like I said, either Hatchett or the other corner, John Armstrong, who does a lot well as well. He ran a 4.40, 120-yard shuttle. He's a little shorter, a little older at 22, but he is going to be just fine as well. Both of these top two corners are going to be fine. That brings us to the Steelers. Where I think they're going to go is they're going to go on the interior. And here, let me see how fast this is going to load, and I'll pull that up. Here's why. So I thought they were going to go with Armstrong or Gaddis, the other corner left. They could potentially go with another wide receiver because they're getting a little older. Deontay Johnson's 26, so he's starting to dev down. But here behind that, you got 24-year-old Werner, 24-year-old Claypool. I don't think they would go for a wide receiver. Could they reach for a running back? Certainly, but I think that would be a bit early of a reach here. Where I think they're going to go is here on this interior D-line. You got Stephon Tuitt, who's getting older, still very, very good. They got Oscar Wooden behind him, who's young and good. But then other than that, they don't have a lot. The cupboard's kind of bare. Isaiah Buggs, his overall rating bugs me. Am I right? He's 26, only a 73. So I would think they would go with the kid, Cordell Hardesty, out of Bama, Roll Tide, 21 years old, 32 bench reps, 4.48, 20-yard shuttle. He is a true bona fide IDL. He can play a 3-4 end or a 4-3 D tackle if you need him to. 6'6", 285. Ran a 4.86 40. So this kid is just a monster on the interior, and he will cause problems in the AFC North for years to come if the Steelers are lucky enough to go ahead and get him. This pick, the Chargers. I didn't realize they were the computer at the time. They have 2 picks. They got 6 and they've got 26. So typically when someone has 2 picks, it's not a computer team, so I didn't even think twice to check it. But when I went through the members list, there was no Chargers, so I don't know if he recently left or what. But at the time, I had him reaching for Isaiah Freeman, who's the 13th overall prospect. Ran a 4.55 40. He's 21 years old. Probably the best middle linebacker prospect in this draft. 4.4 320-yard shuttle. So he's in like the top three in a lot of those speed ones that you want. He's 8th in the 3-cone, so little lagging there. He's not quite a strong guy, so he's probably more your field general pass coverage as opposed to the thumper. But Isaiah Freeman, if this were a user pick, I would say he's 100% going to go. With it not being a user pick, this very well could be John Armstrong, the corner that I mentioned earlier out of Oklahoma. And I've already gone over him, so I don't need to waste a lot of time on him. But I had it at Freeman, could very well end up being John Armstrong, which brings us to the Jets. Biker does a lot of crazy things in drafts. Sometimes he shows up, sometimes he doesn't. Sometimes he drafts 3 quarterbacks because he wants to make sure he gets one of the guys he wants, and he's worried that someone in front of him is going to draft one. I have him going with the other speedy wide receiver. They're ranked 8th and 9th. Hatchett is 8th with that 4.27 speed, and then you got Damian Hall with 4.33 speed, 4.04 20-yard shuttle, so he's a little faster, a little shiftier, and he weighs a little more. He's 5'9", 183. Both of them are a little small for my liking, but when you see those 40 times, they jump off the page. Damian Hall also had a 37-inch vertical jump, so he's probably going to be a guy who might be 5'9", but he plays like a guy who's 6'2", 6'3", and annoys the hell out of the people you play because they're like, how in the hell did this 5'9" guy jump over my 6'2" corner? And you're like, mad, get over it, right? So that brings us to the Browns. I don't know how active Nicholas has been, but I would imagine not very if he's picking in the top 10, right? Nick tends to be pretty good when he plays, so if he's picking 8th, I'm assuming he's not been very active in this league. They have a dilemma outside of just Nick being the GM, right? So the dilemma is that they don't have a ton of depth on the D-line. So I think they're going to go on the D-line as well. I didn't want to hit roster. I wanted to hit depth chart. So they've got some pieces along the offensive line. Look, Batonio is old, but he's good. Willis is great and young. Treader, old but good. Drew Forbes is solid ratings-wise. Trust me, I've got him in another league. He's just fine. Jack Conklin, the right tackle, 28, he's fine. They're bad at quarterback. They're not going to reach for a quarterback here, though, especially if Nick's on autopilot. They've got Kareem Hunt. They're just fine there. Probably not going to take a running back. Wide receiver, they're set up. They've got Beckham, they've got Robinson, they've got Landry, Donovan People-Jones, the younger kid there. So they are just fine on the offensive side of the ball. Where they have issues is left end 62, Myles Garrett 95. Outside of that, they've got nothing. This Jordan Elliott kid looks like he may have been just drafted last year or the year before, but he's only a 70 overall. If you look at the linebackers, not much better, right? 23 and a 73. Middle linebacker 65 overall. So they need help on that front seven, and I think the most bang for their buck will be J.J. Sampson here, the kid out of Washington, 22 years old, 6'5", ran a 4.7 4.40, almost hit that 30 bench reps. So again, he's another one of those. He's not your 3-4 end. He's a 4-3 end, and it looks like the Browns run a 4-3, so you put him on the edge opposite of Myles Garrett. Let Myles Garrett be the speed guy, and let him be the thumper. He's a power rusher archetype, 27 bench reps, so he'll be just fine out there. Now, that being said, if Nick is around to pick and Isaiah Freeman doesn't go to the Chargers, Isaiah Freeman probably goes here, right? And this is where it gets kind of wonky because if this one goes here, then that one goes there. So we'll just pretend this is going to go how it's going to go. The Panthers, look, John Armstrong, the corner's only going to last for so long, right? If you're the Panthers, you got to be ecstatic if you get this kid at 9. He is the number 4 overall rated prospect. He's only 22 years old, ran a 4.46 40, has 38-inch vertical. He's 5'10", so he's going to be just fine. And if you can get him at 9 to be a number 1 corner for 10 years, you're ecstatic. Which brings us to the Saints. A lot of defensive players here in this top 10. We'll count them up here in a second. Danny Martin, the end, right? Out of Clemson, another Clemson first-rounder kid, 23 years old, so that sucks. If you're, picking him and you want him to be around for 47 years, but luckily we probably only got another 3 or 4 seasons at this point, right? So if he's 23, he might not even get out of that rookie contract. Who knows? But at 4.68 at 275, he's big and can fly and can be just fine as an edge guy in a 4-3. 28 bench reps, he'll be fine setting the edge. Power rusher, he's going to be one of those good guys who's good against the run, good against the pass. You're not going to have to take him off the field on second and short or third and short. You can keep him on the field every single down. It's not like he's just going to be a guy you got to R1, sub him in, on passing situations. He, from day one, can be a starter, can stop the run, can stop the pass, and do what needs to be done. So let's count them up here. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of the top 10 I have going defense, and that does not stop there. I actually have 11 of the first 13 players going on the defensive side of the ball. You got Julius Hawkins next. To the Vikings, look, I think old MVB's back around. I know a couple players left his roster because he had some issues going on that got put on the do not sign, I think. So he's going to replace Harrison Smith. Julius Hawkins ran a 4.5 140. He's huge. He's 6'4", 209, and runs well. 4.51 is nothing to sneeze at as a strong safety at 6'4", 209, right? He's probably going to be 89, 90 speed, flying around back there like a maniac. He's a zone archetype, so he may not have huge hit power based on the fact that he's a zone archetype and only 12 bench reps. You have to think the hit power is probably going to be low, but you're going to get a guy who's going to come in as a coverage maniac right away, can take away the back third of the field. So you're going to lose that hit power that Harrison Smith had, but you're going to pick up a ton of coverage and speed that Harrison Smith certainly did not have if you're the Vikings, which brings us to another AFC South team. I believe they are the Computer at this point in time, and the Computer loves best player available. So there's not a ton of really kind of going back and forth. You just look at a need, you look at the best player there, and I think Jonathan Roach will be the guy. Another 4'4" corner, 21 years old, another 6-foot corner, did 18 bench reps, so you got to think he's going to be able to press. Sometimes it's not just about the numbers, right? It's not like, oh, his press is 71, he can't press. Well, if you look at it, he's 6 foot, he did 18 bench reps, he's 184 pounds. He's probably going to press a little better than that rating would suggest. And again, at 4'4" speed, his vert jump leaves a little bit to be desired at 34 inches, but he's 6 foot tall, so he will be just fine out there on the edge for the Computer Colts, probably causing me problems against DJ Shark. Brings us to the Giants. Look, they've got huge issues, and they got to talk about Daniel Jones, right? Is he going to be the quarterback of the future? Same thing the Redskins have to worry about. Is Dwayne Haskins going to be the quarterback of the future? Both of these teams have serious questions as to what they're going to do with the fifth-year guys going into this next year. The reason I think the Giants end up going where I have them going, which is Deontay Presley, the cornerback out of Alabama as well, is because they are old and not great, right? 29 and only a 78, 27 and only a 77. Now, if you're 29 and an 84, great. But if you're below an 80 and you're approaching 30, probably not got too much long where you can be a relevant starter, right? Once you get below 80 and you're approaching 30, your starting days are starting to get numbered. And I think Deontay Presley, while he's a slot archetype, however you want to say it, I don't care. He's 5'9", but he's 190, so he's a big guy, right? Like bulky. He's not very tall, but he runs well. 4.4 40, 4.13. 20-yard shuttle. So he may not be a cornerback 1 really ever. He might be cornerback 2 in slot for his whole career. But when you've got guys like James Bradbury, who's still trotting around out there with only 89 speed, Darryl Worley 88 speed, you need a guy with this 4.4 speed to come in, be that 91 speed guy, 92 speed guy that can play the slot. Someone's home. I think the dogs are happy. Probably the wife. Then we got the Texans, right? They don't need an offensive tackle. Let me show you this. They've got Titus Howard. They've got, obviously, Laramie Tunsil, who they traded their entire draft for, right? For like 7 years. I'm surprised they even have a first rounder. But they've got Laramie Tunsil. They've got Titus Howard. But they have nothing else. Nothing else. Max Sharping is 26 and only a 73. They don't even have a center on the roster right now. So you got to think they're going to go with Chamberlain. And the reason I think you can get by with him is because he is, although he's 6'7", he ran a 4.91 40, 4.91 20-yard shuttle. So he's quick enough that you can put him on the inside. 34 bench reps. He's mean enough that if you want to run a power set, he's fine. He's a power arc type, 34 bench reps, under 5-second 40-yard dash. Leads you to believe he's going to be, an athletic kind of lineman. You can put him at guard, put him at tackle, you'll be fine. The issue with linemen, drafting them in the top 15, is are they going to have a dev, right? Because that's the only position in the league you cannot dev up. If he's normal forever. If he's a star, awesome. If he's a superstar, you ejaculate immediately, right? But if he's normal and you drafted him there, he's probably going to go up 8 to 10 points his whole career. So you got to hope he's already a 76, 77, just because you're not going to get a ton of that development because he's staying normal. Brings us to the Bengals, who there's a little rumor going around that the Bengals and the Steelers are in talks, which would be blasphemous, right? For the Steelers and the Bengals to make a trade for the Bengals to move up to 5, one of those intra-division deals that's only done in Madden, but it would be awesome to see because then you got the Bengals could say, look at this guy, took it 5, he's torching you, or the Steelers could say, haha, you took a bust at 5. It would be great for the league just for the trash talking alone, so I hope it happens. But if he stays put, I think he's going to end up going corner here, and let me pull up as to why I thought that when I was doing this. He has 28, 80, 29, 79, 27, 73, 26, 73. He's pretty weak at corner. What he has going for him is corners pretty deep in this draft. Ramsey would be the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th corner taken, and you're still looking at a kid with 4.41 speed, 4.22 20-yard shuttle, 5'9" is the issue, right? He's not tall enough, only 34-inch vertical. But this kid with 11 bench reps, so he's probably not going to be some athletic freak, but you're getting a starter. He's 23, so that's why you're getting him at 15, whereas if he's 21 and he's 6'1", you're getting him at number 5 overall, right? But you can get him at 15 because he doesn't tick off all the boxes. He ticks off 8 of the 10, and you could do a lot worse than ticking off 8 of the 10 at 15 overall. Bringing up the last first half of the draft. Does that make sense? The last pick in the first half of the draft, ipso facto, roundabout, is the Broncos, right? He is getting Joe Schobert for me. Should be T-minus 15, 20 minutes whenever he gets home to accept the trade. So he may not go middle linebacker here, but Schobert is a little older. He is a superstar dev, so that'll make up for it. He won't regress as bad, but I still think he could use some help along the 4-3 linebacker front as it stands, right? He's only got 3 linebackers, and one of them is Von Miller, who doesn't exactly scream 4-3 linebacker. I don't know if he runs a 4-3 with Chubb on the edge and Miller on the edge, or if he runs like a 4-3 under or 3-4. I'm not exactly certain because Chubb is definitely big enough, like that 270-ish range. He had 275, 280. In that range that he could play a interior 3-4 end, but I think you're getting more out of him by putting him on the edge. Same with Von Miller. So I don't know what exactly, if he's running 3-4 or 4-3, but either way, he needs linebackers. And I think Chris Buchanan, even if he doesn't play middle linebacker, you bump him over to outside linebacker, could be the guy. Now, he's rated like in the 31st overall. Ohio State, 22 years old, 4.6 40, 26 bench reps, 4.58. So he's not the fastest or quickest, but he's that run stopper archetype. He's probably got good block shed, good hit power, and he can plug some holes. If you got Schobert there to kind of run around, cover some ground, I believe he had Mac Wilson, yes, who also can cover some ground. Von Miller obviously isn't playing 4.3, but he's 87 speed. So Buchanan will definitely help in that linebacking core. Brings us to Tiller. And, why can't we make fun of Mitchell Trubisky and Tiller? Why is Mitchell Trubisky still Tiller's quarterback? But what I will say is that I think he's going to get Trubisky a weapon to miss like wide open down the center of the field, right? This kid, Jeffrey Coleman, is another one. So cornerback and wide receiver, there's a drop off after probably 5 or 6, but there's going to be quite a few players that go in this first round at corner and wide receiver that could end up doing battles for some years. This kid's 5'11", 4'3", 840, 408, 20-yard shuttle, 22 years old, out of Penn State. Literally could replace Allen Robinson, right? Allen Robinson seems to be now on the Browns. You've got Allen Robinson 2.0 here in Jeffrey Coleman. Go ahead, get him. One thing that he leaves a little bit to be desired, he's not big, right? He's only 5'11". He's not that 6'2", 6'3", and he only did 14 bench reps. So he's not going to be the most physical wide receiver, only a 35-inch vertical. So again, he's not going to be your red zone kind of guy, but everything else, put him in the slot, he can do just fine. He runs a 4-second 20-yard shuttle. He'll be fine making quick cuts in the slot. He'll be fine going deep on the edge. I just don't know how many contested catches he'll make, but he'll be just fine so long as Mitchell can get him the ball. The secondary in Dallas, the Cowboys, is the most glaring weakness, right? We them boys. They are them boys. And Dak Prescott is still doing work there. 29 years old, 88 overall. The O-line is aging, but still damn good, right? They got Tyron Smith. They got Lael Collins. They got Zach Martin. Tyler Badass is terrible, but that's all right. You got him, and then at left guard, you got issues. I'm assuming McGovern plays left guard, and they kind of struggle inside of Tyron Smith, right? So Tyron Smith holds it down. Inside of him in the center kind of get bullied a little bit. But Zeke can make up for that. Tony Pollard is underrated. He's a pretty damn good Madden back. 93 speed, 95 acceleration. He's a damn good back in real life. I don't know that the Cowboys aren't regretting that Zeke contract in real life after they see Tony Pollard, and there's not a ton of drop-off, right? Like, why are we paying Zeke this much more than Tony Pollard, and there's barely any drop-off? But that's a conversation for another time. He's still got really good skill position players, right? CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, Amari Cooper, all really, really solid. DeMarcus Lawrence, still really, really good. He does need another end. He could definitely use a little help on the interior here. He's weak kind of at D tackle and end, but here is the issue, right? 27, 27, 28, and none of them very highly rated. So I think he's going to go corner as well. Will be like our 6th corner in the first round. Greg Gathers out of Houston, 21 years old, 6'1", so bigger. He's not quite as fast as you would like him to be or as quick, so he's not going to be a real slot guy. He's man-to-man archetype. You're going to have to play him as a CB2. He's probably not going to be a guy who follows around the best wide receiver on the other team. 4'5", 240, 4'3", 220-yard shuttle. He did have a pretty good 3-cone, which I forget if that one's agility or acceleration or change of direction. They all kind of get lumped together in that 3-cone and 20-yard shuttle. It's like agility, change of direction, acceleration, all kind of get combined for that 3-cone and the 20-yard shuttle, and they all kind of come out of the wash in a weird but close way. 8 bench reps, again, is an issue. You're not going to be able to press him. He's not a true number 1 cornerback, never will be. But if you're picking 18th and you can get a CB2 for the next 10 to 15 years, you did just fine. The Titans are another CPU team, drafting 19th. So again, I don't know if they left later in the year or what. But Otis Thornton is an end. He'll still be around. Wisconsin run stopper, 303 pounds, 6'5", 21 years old, under 5-second 40, over 30 bench reps. Got to be excited if you get this kid if you're a user. You could bump him down to D tackle if you're running a 4-3. Keep him at end if you're running a 3-4 because he's fast enough. As soon as you get under 5 seconds, you're fast enough, in my opinion, to play 3-4 end. Would you rather it be 4-8? Of course. That's just life. Not everybody's going to run 4'8" at 300 pounds and do 30 bench reps. This kid, 30 bench reps, 4'9", 21 years old. He'll be just fine. Plug him in and start him in Tennessee. Can't wait to have to deal with that twice a year. Brings us to the Dolphins, and you don't know me. I know he's a Fins fan. I was initially going to be Dolphins before I took a hiatus, we'll call it. I broke my hymen and took a hiatus. So the Fins, they don't have a ton of holes. They really don't. Their roster is solid. It's not great, but it's solid at pretty much every position, especially at wide receiver. O-line is where they have the biggest issues, but he kind of started to shore that up. Paul Ham, 22 years old. Daniel Short, 22 years old, right? Eric Flowers, not great that he's your best option at guard. And then you got Solomon Kinley again. In the interior, he's not so hot, but he's building it back up. I don't think there's a guard that you can take here or even a tackle that you want to bump down reaching here. I think if he reaches, it's going to be for the top running back that I see is Bryson Weatherspoon, 4.4, 440, 4.1, 420-yard shuttle, under 7-second 3-cone, only 21 years old, over 200 pounds as an elusive back, almost 20 bench reps as an elusive back. This kid's going to be good. Even if he's a normal dev, you got to think by week 12, you got at least a star on your hands. If you have some really good games, you might have a superstar on your hands. But you got at least a star dev player on your hands here by the end of the season. If you're going into the playoffs, looks like he was fighting for a playoff position last year. Should be fighting for a playoff position again. You're gonna have a solid running back to go along with Tua and those wide receivers. Look, Matt Breida is fine. He's fast. We know that. We get it. But he's not very good other than that. You got Devontae Parker, Preston Williams, Jakeem Grant, Lynn Bowden's actually starting to ball out in real life, not so hot in Madden. Could they use a third wide receiver aside from Jakeem Grant? Certainly, and I think you could get one of value here, but I don't know that you're going to want to do that when you can get a starter as opposed to a third wide receiver. There's other positions that he could need. Does he need an end? Yes, of course. But it looks like he runs like a hybrid kind of 3-4 with Van Noy and Baker and Kamir Grugier-Hill and Shaq Lawson. So he has plenty of edge threat. And sometimes those IDL you can just kind of plug and play. If you got a guy, Christian Wilkins, he's got really good 84 power moves. Darren Jacobs, 77 power moves. So you got guys you can plug in there. Could he go on the IDL? Certainly. Maybe he should. But I think he'll end up going with a skill position player and go ahead and get that. So the Chiefs do not currently have a right tackle on their roster at all, period. End of discussion. And I think that's where the discussion ends. I think they're going to draft a right tackle, right? They've got a 67 right guard, 63 right guard, 75 left guard, and a bunch of left tackles, 94 Mitchell Schwartz. I think they're going to end up going with B.J. Dickerson out of Scotty. Wisconsin always produces good talent. You got to protect Mahomes. Look, he's a magician, but he can only do so much. This kid's 21 years old, is over the 5-second 40, but when you look at it, damn near 40 bench reps, right? So 37 bench reps, power archetype, 21 years old, 6'7", 330. Don't think he's moving down to guard, but he's a bona fide right tackle, and he'll be a mauler for quite a few years. The question is always with the lineman, does he have a def? But at 21, does it really matter? You're getting a day one starter. You got to be happy. The Raiders, look, Tyree Jackson is cheap, and he's good enough to start. Point blank, period, end of discussion. Anyone who has played with me knows I think you can get by with a less than quarterback. Would you rather have Lamar than Tyree Jackson? If you're picking between the Jacksons, yes, you'd rather have Lamar. Duh. But what I'm saying is Tyree Jackson for $3 million might be better than Lamar for $40 when you're building your whole team, right? He might not get you out of third and 11 overall, but that corner that you signed may stop the 3rd and 11 on the other side, whereas you got roasted because now you're a few seasons in with Lamar and you can't afford people. Henry Ruggs, a monster, 95 overall, 99 speed, 99 acceleration. Seems like a nightmare to play. Deebo Samuel, 92 speed, 93 acceleration. Jamal Agnew, 93 speed, 93 acceleration. Do we see a trend here? High throw power, high speed. I think we know what the Raiders likes to do. What he needs to do, though, is work on the back end of that secondary. Look, Carl Joseph is fine. He's aging, though, right? He's good. He's fast. He's got good hit power, but he's aging. I'm not sure what happened to Abram, but he doesn't look like he's developed quite as well. I mean, he's 25. He's 79. He can still develop, but he's a normal dev, so that hurts, right? He's in his last year. Are you going to give him a 5th round? Who knows what some safeties are making? I don't know what Jamal Adams is making, but this could bump his salary way up. He could be gone, right? Very well could be gone. If you run big nickel, you probably want another safety anyway. Tyree Jackson, we already talked about. He's fine. Don't reach for a quarterback here. You're going to shore up the back end, get Raheem Brock. He's at a Harvard. He's a smart guy. How you like them apples? 4.6 40, 4.3 120-yard shuttle. So he's not a burner, but he'll make up for it with his speed. Now I think my wife is home. She's home. It's the wife. Hello. Say hi to the Madden League. No. Okay. Fair enough. That was short, sweet, and to the point. And I'll keep this short and sweet to the point. Let's get to the Bucs. The Bucs have some defensive line issues, right? They've got quarterback issues. The Birdman. I'm the Birdman. Brock Bird. He sounds like a guy who would either be the toughest guy you know or a guy who's gotten the shit beat out of him every time he goes to a bar because he's a douchebag. There's no in between. Brock Bird is either the toughest guy you know or he just gets punched in the face for being Brock Bird, right? But I think they're going to keep him. He could reach here for old Barry McDonald, who's got another punchable name. You replace Brock Bird with Barry McDonald. I don't know. It's one punchable name for another. I think he's going to focus on the D-line. He's got about 400 ends, but none of them are very good, right? 23 overall, 69, not the worst thing in the world because he's 23. He can still develop. 82 speed, that's nice to see. 74 power move, that's nice to see. However, 26, 68, 27, 66, he's going to struggle. Where I think he could do a lot of good is get Zach Ford, the D tackle out of UCLA. Well, he's a D tackle. Why would you want him? Because he is only 299 pounds, ran a 4.87 40, 4.9 620-yard shuttle. So he's the quickest defensive tackle, and you would think, oh, so he probably doesn't bench a lot. 32 bench reps. I mean, it's not like number one overall D tackle, but he's over 30, which is kind of the benchmark for D tackles. Speed rusher. So he's going to be just fine if you put him as a 3-4 end and you run that 3-4 storm or one of those weird schemes where you have to have a speed rushing D tackle. You move him to D end. This kid is one of the rare ones. Usually guys go from end to tackle. He's one of the rare ones who can go from tackle to end. And I know our commish right now, Dukes, is salivating. He's like, I want Zach Ford in my life. He's not making it to 32. Get over it. But Zach Ford is the pick here for the Bucs, which brings us to the punchable name, Barry McDonald. Look, he had to pass up Barry McDonald with his first pick. He couldn't take him there. It was too much of a reach. McDonald is rated 25th overall, right? He had a farm, E-I-E-I-O. He is 22 years old, 6'5", 220. So he's big, he's strong. 19 bench reps leads you to believe he's got a pretty high throw power, under 5-second 40-yard dash. Ticks off a lot of the boxes that you want to see. It's not like he's some 24-year-old guy. And here's why I do think that if he's there, the Jets have to do it. What just happened? The Jets' depth chart is so bad it just disappeared. Daddy Leagues doesn't even want to show it. But what I can tell you, I don't know if maybe he's updating if we just advanced the week and Daddy Leagues is freaking the hell out right now. It very well may be. But I do know that not C.J. Mosley, he's the highest paid player on the Jets, but James Morgan is their quarterback. I do think the league may have just been advanced while I was doing this. So that may be why I was getting the issues. Let's try one more time. No, yeah, so something is going on right now. Let's just keep this going, right? All right, which brings us to another team in the AFC East, Solomon Scott. Let me see. Yeah, you're in mid refresh me send. Why did I try this? I'm not going to try it again. Try it again because I'm a human. You ever do that? You open the fridge, nothing's there. Close it, open it again. Ooh, what do I want to eat? Oh, shit, I forgot. Nothing's there. I just looked at it 30 seconds ago. Watch, in another minute, I'll be refreshing Daddy Leagues. All right. Solomon Scott, the Patriots, look, they're pretty solid in the trenches. We know Seb likes to build in the trenches. He just got J.J. Watt, I believe, in free agency. So he's going to need a little more of an edge threat, and I think Solomon Scott will give that to him off the edge. Solomon Scott is a right end out of Utah State. 23 years old, 4.69 40, 4.59 20-yard shuttle, 7.14 3-cone. So that's like in that, like, I don't know, decent running back three cone, right? He ran a really fast three cone for a guy who's 254 pounds at DN. 6'3", 254. He's not 22. He's not 21. That usually doesn't scare Seb away. Not only is he quick enough, he's under a 4.7 40. He's damn near 30 bench reps. So this kid is a very versatile kid. We know the Patriots love versatile players, and we know Seb loves versatile players. At 254, you're probably not bumping him down to 3-4 end, but he can play 4-3 end. He can play 3-4 outside linebacker. You got a lot of different places you can put this kid, and Seb's going to love that. He's going to love having him on defense to kind of play around with him. And now let's see what we got here with Daddy Leagues. The scout team, is it ready? It's back. All right, so let's go to the Jets. Look at their quarterback room first. The quarterback room for the Jets. Yeah, James Morgan, 63 overall, 25. Cole McDonald had a farm. So Barry, his cousin's coming in. Look at that. Cole McDonald, I think he's out of Hawaii. People do sweat him in Madden because he's got 86 speed, 88 throw power, so it's a pretty decent combo. And he is I don't know if you guys have seen him, but now I really have to show you him because he's got quite the look, we'll say. Yeah, his first Google image is quite the look. There you are. That's old Cole McDonald, the white boy with dreads, you know. I don't know. What is it with the punchable quarterback? We had Brock Bird, Cole McDonald, Barry McDonald, and now we're here to Solomon Scott with the Patriots. So let's take a look there real quick. Don't want to shortchange. No, we're not going to work. Okay. All right, whatever. Daddy Leagues is going to do whatever the hell it wants to do, which brings us to the second of the computer picks for the Chargers, and I think that's going to be right end Garrison Clark. He'll just be kind of the best end available at that point in time, or the highest rated one, I should say, highest ranked. Garrison Clark, Wake Forest, 23 years old, 4.7 40, 4.7 20-yard shuttle. 27 bench reps. So again, another guy who does a lot of things well. This draft is much more defensive heavy from what I saw in this first round. Now, granted, I'm not giving you a fourth round gem, but I don't have many of them, period, because I didn't have a lot of scouting points, which brings us to the Falcons. Look, they got a lot of stuff they could do. They could go with running back, Todd Gurley. He got, I believe, Baker Mayfield, so he doesn't have to worry about replacing Matt Ryan. He already did that. He's got Baker. I'm almost positive he did. I remember that. Pretty sure. So he has Baker. He's got a damn good receiving core. I think he just added DJ Moore in free agency, so he's fine on the offensive side of the ball. I think he's going to end up going with the front seven, and he'll get Devin Fox, the right end out of Auburn, speed rusher, 22 years old, 29 bench reps. So you're seeing a lot of these guys who, even though they're speed rusher archetypes, they're almost hitting 30 bench reps, which is really good. And he's only 266 pounds. Usually, when you see that 30 bench reps, it's like a 290, 280 D end who's more of a 3-4 guy. So you got to be happy if you're the Falcons and you can replace Tack, who left in free agency. Brings us to the computer Packers. Their roster doesn't have a ton of players. It's bizarre. I guess there's a lot of cap issues when you got Aaron Rodgers and Kenny Clark. Yeah, Aaron Rodgers, $40 million. Zadarius Smith, $20 million. Kenny Clark, $20 million. Devontae Adams, $20 million. David Bakhtiari, $20 million. So it's hard to field a full team at that point when you got that many guys making that much money. So he didn't have a ton of offensive linemen. I think Walter Harrell would be the best one left, and I think that's where the computer will probably go. Agile kid out of Miami, 21 years old, 5'2", so that's a little slower than you would like for an agile archetype, but he did do 32 bench reps, 5-second 20-yard shuttle, 7.64 3-cone. So again, the athletic skills, those speed skills that you want to see in the agile archetype aren't really up to snuff. So, but who the hell knows? What Madden, that could mean he's a friggin' superstar dev. You just never know with Madden. It could mean he's terrible and a bust, but it could also mean, hey, we gave him a superstar dev because go fuck yourself for being a combine hoe, which I am. Brings us to the Rams. Savvy, I know he said he's taking a tight end, but if he takes a tight end, I will fall off my chair. The highest rated tight end is Von Reed, a late second rounder. He does have really good speed. He's 21 years old, 4.57 speed for a Madden generated tight end is phenomenal. But if he takes him at 29 overall, I'll fall off my chair. He very well may, but I just don't see him reaching that much. I think he's going to end up going with Landon Spellman, who is a little bit of a reach there as well. But he just lost Aaron Donald, so instead of getting the pressure up the middle, maybe he's going to try to get it off the edge. 22 years old out of LSU. He's a true he's not a true 3-4 OLB in terms of size, right? In Madden terms, he's a true 3-4 OLB. In real life, 6 foot 221, you're probably not going to be an edge rusher. You're a little too short, right? I think even Terrell Suggs is like 6'1", 6'2", and he's borderline, right? So I don't think he's prototypical there, but a lot of the other ones, he ticks off a lot of the boxes. He's an outside linebacker, did over 20 bench reps, 4.6, 540, 4.62, 20-yard shuttle, almost 7 flat 3 cone, so he's fine. Is he the strongest guy? No, but he's a speed rusher archetype, so you kind of expect that going in. You do wish he were a little longer or taller, however you want to refer to it, less vertically challenged, but he's just fine to get at 29, and if you want to go with old the Vaughn, the tight end, be my guest. He'd be a bit of a reach, but man, he's got really great physical skills. Out of Virginia, 21 years old, 6'4", 249, ran a 4.45 20-yard shuttle on top of that 4.5 740, 20 bench reps, 34-inch vertical. So that kid is good at 6'4". Let's see. We got the Raiders with their second first-round pick. A couple teams here with some, 2 first-rounders, which is good to see. That means it's still pretty active. You know, you hate to see that draft 2 seasons in when there's only, every team has their original pick. It means there wasn't a lot of activity, wasn't a lot of action. So I'm glad to see the league is still somewhat active. It looks like there's a few more computer generated teams than I would like, or computer controlled teams, I guess I should say, than I would like. But you could do, again, a lot worse. There's still guys that are active. You still got multiple teams with multiple first-rounders, so trades are still happening. We're getting down to the last 3 picks here. Caleb Poyer, cornerback. I think the Raiders, they really wanted an edge rusher, but after 4 of the last 5 picks were edge rushers, there was nobody there. So they'll settle on a replacement for one of their aging cornerbacks. And, my mouse done went crazy. They got Brock on the back end, so they're really going to get much younger in the secondary here this draft, in my opinion, between Brock at strong safety, and then they'll go ahead and get the kid Caleb Poyer. Maybe it's Jordan Poyer's little nephew, because they got Awuzie, 27. He's pretty good, though. Patrick Peterson, 32. He's soon to move to safety, probably 83. Trayvon Mullen, really good, really young. But these guys are starting to age. Damon or Damon? I'm going with Damon. Damon Arnett. I don't know. I've never heard it. I know he's a solid player in real life for the Raiders, but I don't think I've ever heard it, whether it's Damon or Damon. I don't know. I'm going with Damon. Damon. We're going with Damon. So is it a position of need? No, not a ton. But when you're picking 30 overall, you can kind of take a little bit of a pick of luxury, and you got Caleb Poyer sitting there. Where is he out of? Let me see. I got booted out for some reason. Coming back in, filibustering. Caleb Poyer, NC State slot guy, archetype, 23 years old, 6 foot. Again, a 4.4 40. The 20-yard shuttle is a cause for concern all the way up at a 4.3. So, again, not a guy you really want to take in the top 10, but if you're getting him at 30, you're pretty damn happy about that. Could do a lot worse than getting a slot project corner at 30 overall. Dukes, look, he's going to hope that this D-tackle, Zach Ford, falls to him or some other end that he can kind of transition to an interior guy, but it just doesn't look likely to happen. Could he reach for someone here? Certainly. I just don't see it. If you got to go way down to and even then, you got to go way down to, I don't think there's really anyone. Chad Peel, which is pretty much end of the second round, and I don't think Dukes would do that. So I think he's going to go with the left tackle here, Dalton Callahan. Oh, Dalton Callahan. And this is where left tackles are really going to start to come off. There's quite a few here in this late first, early second round where I think you're going to start to see a run. Dalton Callahan, agile out of Washington, 22 years old, great 40-yard dash, 4.82 40, great 20-yard shuttle, 4.9, great 3-cone, 7.25, and did 30 bench reps. So he's versatile enough. I know Dukes typically likes more of the power guys, but this guy is plenty versatile enough. 30 bench reps, did all the other speed stuff perfectly, exactly what you would want. So at 31 overall, you're going to replace, I forget, who did he have there that I had him taking a left tackle? Give me 1 second. There was a reason I thought it was going to go. Yes, because he got old-ass Trent Williams. He's got Mike McGlinchey, and this kid's fast enough to kick down to guard, whether it be right guard, left guard, wherever you need him. He can kick down. He'll be just fine. Max. One of my kids put a bag of Doritos back in the pantry with literally nothing. Like, it wasn't even crumbs in it. It was just an empty bag. I don't know if he didn't want to get in trouble because he wasn't supposed to finish them all or what, but he just... that's funny. Dalton Callahan probably going to kick down to guard for Dukes. Maybe not officially, but I think he'll be there on the depth chart because he is quick enough. Look, 4'8", 240, 4'9", 20-yard shuttle. He's only 317, so this guy is a guard in the making. I think that's why I had him there, if I remember correctly, which brings us to the Super Bowl champion Buffalo Bills. Fury still kicking everybody in the teeth. Good to see. Look, the last bracket the last pick in the first round, I don't know. He's got a pretty solid team, obviously. He won the Super Bowl. I do think he has some issues at linebacker, but he gets by with them just fine because he's a pretty good user and he's got some speed there. Where I think he'll add some speed is here. Peter Simpson out of Vanderbilt, 22 years old, 4'3", 840, but he's got almost a 4'4", 20-yard shuttle. So he might be one of those guys with literally 95 speed, 84 acceleration. It's going to be a weird one. So he'll be fine guarding streaks, but comebacks and slants and things like that he's going to struggle with. He'll eventually develop into a just fine starter. He's only 22. He's fast. You're going to be able to get him on the field. Obviously, the Bills have, I think, Trey White, Taron Johnson. Let me see who he's still got on his roster because everything changes, obviously. Stephon Diggs still with the X Factor, kicking it. Yeah, Levi Wallace. Actually, he doesn't have old Taron Johnson, who's my guy. He just ran one back the other night against Big Ben. Levi Wallace is pretty good. He's tall. He's quick in this game. He's got, well, I forget, he's got pretty good. I think it's change of direction or acceleration. A.J. Boye is getting old, so you need a third corner. Grant Haley is fast, but he's not very good. I think Peter Simpson will be right around his overall pretty much right away. So you're looking at either, the aging guy in Boye or the fast guy in Haley. I think you can have Peter Simpson, who would be the best of both worlds. Let him be your slot guy. Let him develop. By the time Trey White and Levi Wallace are ready to go, more so Wallace than White. White's not going to really regress. He'll be ready to take the reins. That wraps us up for our 2022 Scout Team Mock Draft. Sorry, I was looking at something else while I was talking, and I was distracted. Glad to be back. I don't know who I have week 1. I guess I'll find out now, but you're in for an ass whooping.